are here, you're moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, you're touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. And you are here, you're mending every heart. I worship you, oh, I worship you. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Yeah, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. Yeah, that is who you are. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. Oh.
Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working.
Yeah, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. Never stop. Oh yeah, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh yeah, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
What's up, everybody? Welcome tonight to Reengage, or welcome back for those of you guys who are regular. My name is Trey, and I'm here with my wife Anna and our friends Al and Lisa, who don't need much of an introduction. Most of you guys know them, but we're glad you're here. I'm going to get Anna to remind us of the group information tonight.
Yeah, so if you haven't joined us yet, for Reengage newcomers on Zoom, that will be happening tonight, but there is an important update for tonight's Zoom. Instead of starting at 7 o'clock tonight, it's going to start at 7:15. We're going to give you guys a little bit more time to get those IDs and get logged in. So if you don't have the newcomer ID or the open group ID, you need to email us at reengage@wfr.org.
Yeah.
wfrchurch.org.
All right. That's reengage at wfrchurch.org. We also want to mention that July 2nd, we are potentially going to start back live. And so no more looking at our faces on camera. We'd love to see you guys in person. That is, though, for now without kids. And so be thinking about that and planning ahead for that and childcare and all that. So tonight, we're going to be talking about forgiveness. And I know no one really says that they're experts at forgiveness, but you guys did write a book on it. So, and desperate forgiveness.
Desperate forgiveness.
So
that's right.
The question, I guess, is why desperate forgiveness? Why did y'all call it that?
Well, much like yours and Anna's story, our story is a story of both desperation. I mean, the lowest place you feel like you could ever go in your marriage, and then how do you get out of that? I mean, how do you dig out of the hole that we find ourselves in? So it's funny because when we went to our book agent about this idea about the book, they were like, desperate. I'm not much, they didn't like the word desperate. And that's the way book people are. They're like, I don't know. And
No, we don't know.
No, that's exactly right. We're like, look, it's our story,
Yeah.
But we were like, no, we feel strongly about that word. We're going to, that word staying in there. And then it really did kind of become the crux of all the stories that are there, both the biblical stories as well as the stories of people's lives, including yours, which you were gracious enough to let us talk about you guys. But it's that really is the driving force of what led us to our own forgiveness of one another, and then ultimately the ability to help other people find it, because it's very difficult.
Right. So most people, I think, understand, obviously,
No, whenever you have to forgive somebody, that means they have hurt you. And our first thing to do when somebody hurts us is to run. You run away. You get away from that person, or you get away from that animal. If you get dog bit, you're not going to just stand there and play with the dog still. You're going to run away from it. And so whenever you are hurt, you tend to run. Well, in order to forgive, you don't have to go back to the person, but you do have to come to God and say, that's hard to do. Whenever somebody has hurt you and hurt you deep, it is very hard. But we also have to go back to the Bible. Jesus tells us that we have to forgive.
Into marriage, because if I forgive you, what happens if you hurt me again? Right. What happens? It's a feeling like I'm giving away control, which you don't have anyway, but that's what it feels like, because at least at this point, I've got this to, remind you of how bad you are and what you did. But there's a great fear that if I release, then all of a sudden I've played all my cards and now I've got to do what God told me to do. So that fear plays a big factor, I think, into just really releasing and allowing God to start that healing process. So Lisa's right, between the pain and the fear, those are two huge hurdles to get over to find forgiveness, especially obviously in our situation, it was infidelity, which is typically what strikes most marriages as the ultimate as well.
Right.
Yeah, I think I would add too, with what y'all said, it's the thought that if I forgive this person means that I trust them automatically, and that's just not true. It's putting our trust into God, and sometimes that's the barrier too, is realizing I don't have to trust you, the person that hurt me, but I've got to trust in God, and I can forgive.
Yeah.
I do.
And that's actually what started me on the road to be able to forgive Lisa, because I was just real honest with the Almighty. I was like, I can't do this, God. I mean, I cannot trust her when she walks out of my sight. I can trust her when she's sitting there, and that's it. And so I was like, how are we going to do this? How could I even contemplate forgiving her when I'm that distrustful of her? And ultimately, the Almighty and I just struggled it out. And finally, I said, you know what? I trust you. And you revealed this to me in the time that it's come now. So I'm just asking you to give me a heads up if this is not the right way to go. And it was amazing. That first little step, again, that kind of baby step, allowed the capacity for my heart to open up to say, you know what? I can forgive her because God forgave me. So
Right.
that was my little starting point that helped me the most.
Yeah, I do think there's a difference like between forgiveness and trust. Like trust is really, it has to be earned. You know, you can forgive them even though you don't trust them yet. And they have to earn that through, you know, genuine repentance or whatever. So, and it has to be them willing to do whatever. Hey, I'll give you my passwords. I'll, you know, my phone, whatever it is, I'll do it, you know. So I think that's something that's earned.
You also, you know, a lot of people say to forget. You know, the forget part is really hard too.
Yeah.
But Al and I usually say we forgive, remember why. So we're not forgetting. We're not the Almighty. We cannot forget it. But we choose to forgive,
Mm-hmm.
and then we remember why we choose.
Right, right. I know for us, we talked about this actually earlier today. Like there have been times when we've hurt each other, but there's been times when she's hurt me, and those old thoughts would come back, and those old feelings and emotions would come back, and so I would have to remind myself that nope, I've already forgiven her for that, and so just reminding myself that I've already chose to forgive was part of that. So. So what about if someone's at that point of unforgiveness, they want to, but they're just struggling to do that? What would be like a first step maybe to start that process of forgiving?
Well, I mean, I think you have to, the first thing that happens is you have to assess, do I love this person? Do I love my family? Do I love all the things that are tied into my relationship and marriage enough to make the effort? Because it's going to be hard. And some people don't. You know, they're just like, it's too hard. I'm just, you know, I'm going to take a shot with somebody else and hope that one works out. The problem with that is you still take all the hurt and pain and everything that scarred you in this situation with you, you know, to the next stop. So I think the first step, Trey, you have to in your heart to go to the ability of saying, look, this is going to be hard. This is going to be tough, but I can do this. And as Anna said, and then implore the Almighty to give you that ability to do it. And then I think the second thing you have to do is you just have to make a pact with yourself that you're going to try to forgive your spouse just like God forgave you. And he did say he remembers our sin no more, which is amazing, but he's divine. You know, we're human, so it's hard for us to do that. But you know what? At the same time, Lisa and I look back, and for us, it's been now over 20 years, you know, when our marriage fell apart. And we look back and say, look at, I mean, we can't even hardly remember any of all that terrible pain. I mean, all we see now is the victories that God has taken. So those first steps and not holding on to that unforgiveness, because bitterness, it starts setting up quick.
Right.
It does. I mean, immediately you're mad about it, and you should be. It's terrible. You've been hurt. You've been wounded. But when bitterness sets up, as we know from Hebrews 6, it's a root, and then it says it grows and it defiles many.
Right.
And think about who gets defiled the most, where the root is, where it starts. And so it's hard to come back. The longer you don't forgive, the more bitter you become.
Yeah, which is my next question really. Why is it so dangerous to not forgive? I've heard it explained. I've heard a bunch of different analogies, but one of them was, you know, it's like carrying 2 sacks of concrete on your shoulder, or it's like an invisible umbilical cord where you're constantly being fed with the hurt and the pain over and over again. So why would you say unforgiveness is so dangerous?
Well, I think one thing is because you still continue to be a victim, like you were talking about. Whenever you have not forgiven someone, they still have that power over your life. Whenever you forgive and let it go and let God take care of it, they don't have that power anymore. And so I think as a victim, we're bitter, we're mad, angry. And so we continue to heap holes, you know, and I think we just maybe the infraction wasn't as bad, but you know, the more bitter you are, the worse it gets, you know. And then if it's a married couple, every little thing piles on top of that. and then it's bigger than you can even handle it. And I think we have to look inside ourselves too and see how bad we were when God forgave us, you know, and we how bad have I hurt somebody else, you know?
Right.
I mean, I know my spouse has hurt me, but how bad have I hurt others? How bad have I hurt? You know, how bad have I hurt my parents or just anybody? I mean, you've really got to take a look inside and think, you know, I'm not this, you know, great holy person. I've done this too.
Well, Lisa and I, through our counseling early in our situation, we figured out too that pain and hurt have a different way sometimes of having a grip on you that has nothing to do with your spouse. That, you know, and help create the atmosphere. In Lisa's case, she was carrying pain from sexual abuse from when she was a child. And she wasn't like she's sitting around bitter, like she's mean and mad all the time, but it was triggering a way for her to look at men and react to people in a way that was harmful. And so here all this old pain. And look, you know what finally broke it? We sat in a room with an empty chair with a counselor, and we looked at that empty chair and we imagined this person in that chair, and we prayed about releasing the bonds of what this sin and hurt had done all those years later. And you know what? We walked out of there, the beginning of a process that Lisa was changed forever. And so, again, forgiveness was the key to release her, to be able to then allow me to release my hurt and pain as well. So forgiveness, that's the way it works. It's a cascade. And it's amazing because when it becomes a part of your life and it becomes the way you live, then the little things aren't as big as they once were. You know, you still may get frustrated, but they never escalate into the old battle royales of the old days because you just have that forgiveness heart now. And you guys have experienced too. It changes everything.
Yeah.
You know, when you can
It really
embrace
does.
it.
Yeah. And it's actually the most self-loving thing you could do, you know. Another thing I thought about was, you know, the decision to forgive it should be instant, but it's still a process. Like you can't skip it. You can't do it half-hearted. Like you have to work through the whole process or you'll just be back at step one. So that's something that we've experienced too. You want to add?
Yeah, it was that whole process. I remember the day that, because it was infidelity on my part too in our marriage that we were suing y'all for. And I remember the day we go into y'all's office and Trey finally says, like, all right, I've finally decided I've forgiven her. And Alan said, well, that's great, Trey, but now you got to go the second mile, forgiveness, and that's where it comes into that process and choosing to forgive the memories that come up, the hurt that will come up over the years, which gets less. I mean, we're 8 years out now, and those thoughts, those old hurt and pain is nowhere near like it used to be. And it does almost seem like two other people that talking about. But I'll never forget that second mile forgiveness when you said that, not really understanding. I just thought, well, no, I mean, that's it. He made the decision.
We're ready.
We're ready. It's been months already. What are you talking about? There's more.
Yeah.
But it was that every time we thought of the verse where they asked Jesus, how many times should I forgive? 7 times. And he says, no, 70 times 7.
Yeah.
And from that point, learning that second mile forgiveness, we look at that verse now, it's not about 70 times 7 different sins.
Could be.
It might be 70 times 7 for the same sin.
Yeah.
Because those memories will keep coming up, and you have to choose, yeah, this hurts, but I'm going to choose to forgive it again, which means I'm going to absorb the debt of it, which is the
It's
pain.
really like when you first become a Christian and you say, Jesus, you're going to be the Lord of my life. That's the statement is important because you're making a commitment.
Right.
But at the same time, the next step is living it.
Right.
I mean, now that I've made the commitment, what am I going to do to show that I really am that person?
Yeah,
So.
that's good. I know a lot of people they've forgiven their spouse or whoever it is, but they're still kind of struggling. And so, how do I know if I've truly and genuinely forgiven someone? What's some indicators of that?
I think it starts with the first time you really kind of know that you're on that path, have a capacity to forgive, is when then you can not have every thought be about what hurt. When it begins to change you. I mean, in other words, you're starting to think in your own mind, okay, I'm having I'm having more good days than bad days. Because before you get in the process of extending forgiveness, they were all bad days. Remember how early on it was just and then you go to sleep, and the only thing that made you feel a little bit better was you could sleep. But when you woke up, it's the first thing that hit you with, And so that begins to lessen. And so that's my phone. So it's the red one over there. And I'm in some crazy group text, which is, it drives me crazy anyway, just so you know. Yeah, turn that off or get it out of here. This is live stream, so I'm just used to telling it like it is.
That's good. It's all good.
A bad group text. But so I think that's the first step is that internal thing of you. And then I think the other part is, that you've now started when you have to keep reminding yourself of why you're doing this.
Yeah.
It's a reminder. It's a daily reminder. But sometimes it doesn't get that. After a while, it may not even be yearly. But even Lisa and I, all these years later, will be now, because we work with a lot of people. We worked with you guys, and now you work with people. And there'll be a couple, and they're raw. I've been texting back and forth with a police officer from Alabama, terrible situation. And he's, the early days, and I can just see it coming, even in a text, you can see it. And so you're like, man, I just don't know how we're ever going to get past this. And so Lisa and I may be working with somebody, and even with us, it sparks the just think, man, we went through a lot, because you're just telling it again.
Right.
And Lisa will sometimes say, I'm so sorry that I hurt you. Even all these years later, just a little reminder that, just know that, and what do I always say? That's why I forgave you. And so it's just a reminder that even after all these years, and we were talking about in terms of couples, the person maybe who's had the affair, one of the things they really help the process go forward is to be transparent.
Right.
And it's hard. We found that it's harder for men sometimes than women for whatever reason. It's not that we're prideful or anything. But, it's
No, not at all.
so, but you have to be transparent and make it easy for your spouse.
Yeah.
It's like love and respect, from Ephesians 5. If I'm respectable, it makes it easier for her to respect me. If she's lovable, it makes me much easier to do what God told me to do.
Right. And that goes back to that trust thing. I remember you telling me, or maybe both of us, that whatever they want to know, you got to tell them. And so that's exactly what we tell other people now too. So
because there's going to be a point in time, y'all know this, where you don't want to know any more about that.
Yeah.
But until that person gets there, I always just say, be honest, because the first time you don't tell something, it looks like you're holding back.
Right.
And that's how they feel. And they're waiting for you to mess up anyway. So the best thing you can do is, we call it truth vomit. It's Psalm 51. Just, just let it out. Be truthful. I know it hurts. I know you're embarrassed, but at the same time, you can't get to forgiveness unless first you can get to the truth.
Yeah.
And so if you have those shouts and shadows and doubts and little hiding places, you'll always give the evil one a chance to get his way back in every time.
Right.
And just like sick, when you vomit, you feel better. Same thing with this. Whenever you tell the truth, whenever you just vomit it out there, it's amazing at the release that God gives you whenever you just let it all go.
Yeah, I know usually and we've experienced this too, like when there's a kind of a sticking point, you're not moving forward, almost always there's something that hadn't been revealed yet. And that's why these feelings that person's having of distrust is wise, because of some hidden sin that's there. So we could talk about this for 2 hours, but we had 15 minutes. So 15
I knew
minutes.
this was going to happen with us and y'all, because we just enjoy talking to each other.
We may have to do it again, and maybe when we got more time. But so why don't you remind everybody about the group information for
Get the
tonight?
email right.
Yeah.
All right. If you have not been to our newcomers class, either here live before Corona or since we've been doing it on Zoom, you can join us tonight on Zoom at 7:15. You need to email us at reengage@wfrchurch.org so we can give you the ID to log in. If you have been to newcomers, you can still join us on Open Group on Zoom also, and it will begin at 7:15 tonight as well. And just a reminder, as Trey started at the beginning, we are looking at tentatively going back live and coming here in person again on July the 2nd. We'll let you know more details about that next week, because most likely childcare will not be available. So you need to be thinking about that and preparing and planning for that as well.
Yep. So thank you guys for being here. I know you guys are busy, and it's a blessing.
I just want to say to everybody watching that how proud Lisa and I are of you guys. We are one of your mentor couples, but you guys are the example of what happens when God gets in charge and leads.
Right.
and can
Yeah.
change anything. And so
Yeah.
I feel like every good thing that happens, whether it's you guys or other people, it's all part of that fruit of that tree that Christ has raised up. So
Right.
thank you for what you do.
Appreciate it. We do want to encourage you guys that are listening that one of the things that I know Anna and I have learned, and probably you guys too, is like most couples, whether you're in a crisis marriage or an average marriage, are just one or two choices away from having a good marriage or a great marriage. And so we want to encourage you, whether that's a choice to forgive or whether it's a choice to come to reengage, whatever it is. We want to encourage you. We're here to help. We don't get paid for this. You guys don't either, and so we appreciate you guys listening, and just know that we're here to help, and we're here every Thursday night. So I'm going to pray and close this out. Y'all bow. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the reminder of the way that you've forgiven us. Every one of us here, every one of us listening, need forgiveness, and you've freely given that to us, and we're grateful for that. And just help us to do likewise in our relationships, especially in our marriages, and just to live out the gospel in our lives and to extend grace and forgiveness to one another as you have to us. We thank you for that. We thank you for Jesus and the way that he lived that out and provided that through him. And it's in his name we pray. Amen.
You are here, you're moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, you're touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. And you are here, you're mending every heart. I worship you.